Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast.
I gotta tell you, being an entrepreneur, I will not go through the rest of my career without taking nootropics. Aniracetam, piracetam, modafinil, Nupep, uridine monophosphate. I mean, phenylpiracetam, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is about to begin.
Episode number 91 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. Should I be taking nootropics while I'm detoxing? I kind of want to talk about detoxing and the necessity for detoxing, some of the chemical compounds you can use to detox, and whether or not you should be taking nootropics while you detox. That was a question that came through via email, and I think that it's relevant for some people, so I hope this is going to be helpful. Running through product real quick. Right now, the Cortex Nootropic Stack is on sale for $25. If you use the coupon code 7, Cortex is our nootropic stack that we made strictly for professionals initially. It was like we wanted to build something for entrepreneurs. I had been taking the stack myself, running a previous company, and it just turned my brain on to focus and have motivation and verbal fluency for hours. It just made me super productive. So we formulated that in a pre-made stack. It's been out for about 3 years. Folks just love the Cortex Nootropic Stack. Get that at livecortex.com. Use the coupon code 7. That'll take the price down to $25. That lasts all this week. Today is Wednesday, I think the 24th of October. If you need my help personally on anything related to nootropics, we have a consulting service. It's a 40-minute call with me on nootropics. Mostly we just help people figure out stacks that work best for them. 15 additional email correspondences come with it. Get that at livecortex.com. If you have chronic fatigue syndrome, something that a lot of folks that overlap into the biohacking sphere have, it's kind of why they got into trying to modify their biology to begin with. We have a consulting service on chronic fatigue syndrome. We can help you pinpoint what's happening, why it's happening, get to the root of it, and start fixing it. And then lastly, if you are new to nootropics, we wrote a book for you. It's called Smarter, Better, Faster. It is digital and downloadable and awesome. You can get that at livecortex.com. Gives you many stacks, teaches you how to cycle, teaches you how to use nootropics surgically. Okay, so an email came through. We get so many emails like every day about the craziest questions, the most random nootropics questions, biohacking questions, detox questions, like gym physiology questions, everything you can think of. And it gives us so much to talk about, which is really cool. So I encourage it. Ryan at livecortex.com. If you want to send me a question, just send me a question and I'll try to answer it on air. I will do the best I can because we love to, because it's just like so much content we can constantly put out. It's good feedback out to the nootropic sphere and the biohacking sphere, and people can kind of hear other people's experiences. So an email came through with a dude who's basically doing a kidney and a liver detox for a week. One of the protocols that he's doing is the, I forget what the guy's name is. It's a protocol basically where you take a grapefruit, an entire grapefruit, and you squeeze it into a cup. Like you fresh squeeze a grapefruit into a cup. And then you fill the other half of the cup with olive oil. It's like a giant, it's like a half a cup of olive oil with half a cup of grapefruit, freshly squeezed grapefruit juice. And then you drink it. You drink it at 10 o'clock at night. You don't eat anything like 6 hours prior. You don't eat anything after, and you go to sleep. You're supposed to go to sleep right away. The next morning, you basically facilitate all of that stuff, going through your intestines and coming out immediately. And the idea behind it is that you get essentially blockages in bile hung up in bile ducts in your gallbladder and your liver. And this is something that's been demonstrated that actually happens. I forget what they're called. I think intrahepatic stones, I believe they're called, where you actually get blockages of bile in your liver. That's not something you want to have happen. You want all the essentially the filtering pathways in your liver and your gallbladder to be clear. You want them all to work well so that you can continue to filter things out. I suspect this is how people get gallstones, when those ducts that carry bile get clogged up. So anyway, you take Epsom salt and 2-3 servings over the course of like a 2-hour spread out increments of Epsom salt just by itself, and that basically cleans your intestines out. The mechanism there is that magnesium, I think it's magnesium sulfate, whatever Epsom salt is, like very particular pharmaceutical kind of magnesium, shuttles like water directly through the intestines and basically gets them to move. So if you have constipation, that's absolutely like a strategy to use. And what you do is you essentially like waste out all this stuff. Now, a lot of it is probably like, olive oil and grapefruit juice, but interestingly enough, there's a lot of people who have experienced this who say that the waste like literally looks like what we see when we take pictures of intrahepatic stones. And intrahepatic stones, like these are blockages and stones of bile inside of the gallbladder and the liver, actually look like what comes out. Anyway, that's one of the detox strategies that this guy is employing. The other one is basically just taking a kidney detox supplement over the course of 7 days. It's got like cranberry juice, cranberry extract, turmeric, a few other things that are known to help foster kidney detox. The question was, the email basically went like this: "Hey, I'm doing these 2 cleanses here for the next 7 days, but I like rely on nootropics for brain performance. I take racetams, I take modafinil sometimes. What should I do during this time? Like, I really want to keep my performance up. I've got work, I've got deadlines, I've got stuff I got to do. I have to perform. Should I be taking nootropics during this time?" And the answer to that question is largely no. Okay, largely you shouldn't take nootropics during this time. Now, there are a couple nootropic compounds that really won't fuss with detox at all that you can take, and I'll get to them in a second. But the overarching idea is that the big point that I think you really want to get across is that during a time when you're detoxing of chemicals, you're trying to facilitate a faster flow and kind of a jumpstart in the functionality of detox pathways and detox organs. You really don't want to burden those organs or those pathways with any more chemicals, right? The whole idea is you're trying to recover them potentially from the burden of chemicals to begin with, right? I mean, that's essentially what you're looking at. And so you don't want to burden them to any significant degree while you're doing it. So I definitely would not be taking racetams. I definitely would not be taking any of the modafinil analogs, including adrafinil. It's just like you don't want to take any of the hard stuff at all. What you should do, though, during that time is you should focus on your sleep. And I'd perhaps take 3 to 5 grams of glycine an hour before you go to bed so that you sleep a little more restoratively. Maybe add a gram of ashwagandha in there if you really want to take it up a notch so that you sleep really well so you can function really well the next day. But when you wake up, and it's when it's time to get to work, there are a few innocuous compounds that you can take that will stimulate you to perform, but that won't really burden the detox systems. And they are yohimbine, theacrine, acetyl L-carnitine, and alpha-lipoic acid. So those 4 would be, and of course you could absolutely throw caffeine in there. So those 5 really would be the strategy. Like, wake up, have a cup of coffee, take 10 milligrams yohimbine, and go from there. On a separate day, wake up, have some coffee, take 100 milligrams of theacrine, have some coffee, and go to town. On a separate day, wake up, take 125 milligrams of theacrine, 300 milligrams of Alcar, drink your coffee, and go to town. A lot of people don't realize that those are like super mild compounds when it comes to putting a lot of chemicals in your body. They have like pretty specific mechanisms. The body clears the stuff out pretty quickly. And they're stimulating, to the point where you can really stimulate yourself to go and get work done. But you don't have to be taking racetams or the TAU Limitless stack from the Smarter, Better, Faster book, or any of our like super complex stack from the Nootropics stack for the Business Professional book. All of our digital books are like lots of complex stacks. You don't have to be taking all that stuff. You can take like those 5 compounds and you can rock it. So yes, my advice is don't go heavy on heavy nootropic compounds that these organs that you're trying to detox are going to have to work on, because you want to minimize the burden as much as possible. I at least every 2 months I go through a detox period, and in that detox period, that's what I do. I take these 5 chemicals, and I don't take many other nootropics. And detoxing is important, man. You want to keep those systems working really well. And the 2 ways to do that is absolutely the grapefruit olive oil protocol, as well as just taking a kidney detox supplement that has cranberry and turmeric in it. That's my take on it. Thanks so much for the question, Ryan at livecortex.com. If you have other questions, I figured this would be, a little bit off of the topic of like taking nootropics, but I mean, it's all relevant to nootropics. And this question came in via email. Okay. So thanks so much for the question. Check us out on the web, livecortex.com, for more podcasts and information about nootropics. Livecortex.com/blog is where you can find all that stuff. Like us on Facebook, please. Facebook.com/Cortex Stacks. And remember, the Cortex Nootropic Stack right now, that's the primary thing that's on sale. Livecortex.com. If you use the coupon code 7, just the number 7, you can get a bottle of Cortex for $25. Pretty cheap for what's being called the only pre-made stack that works. If you need my help personally, get the consulting service at livecortex.com. It's a consulting service on nootropics. If you have chronic fatigue syndrome, we have a consulting service on that. If you've got gut-related issues, we've got a consulting service on that. Get all that stuff at livecortex.com. And if you're new to nootropics, buy Smarter, Better, Faster. That's our book that teaches you everything. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. More content coming. Podcast cranking out. Talk to you soon. Rock on.